I the a-hole for walking away from someone who is beautiful, kind, and brilliant because her hygiene pushed me to a breaking point? I, 28 male, started dating Ella, 27 female, about 7 months ago, and I fell for her hard and fast. She was breathtaking in that natural, effortless way. Messy hair, no makeup, still absolutely stunning. But it wasn't just her looks. She was smart, funny, warm. She had this quiet strength and nurturing energy that made me feel completely safe when I was around her. 3 months into dating, we went exclusive. I genuinely felt like the luckiest guy alive. But there was something I kept pushing aside, brushing off, pretending didn't matter. Her hygiene. At first, I made excuses. Everyone has bad days, right? Maybe she was just having a rough week. But the more time we spent together, the more I realized it wasn't temporary. It was her normal. Her apartment was rough. Dishes stacked in the sink for days, laundry strewn across the floor, weird, lingering smells that I couldn't quite identify. I eventually stopped suggesting we hang out at her place all together and just invited her to mine. It was easier that way. And then there was the body odor. Not just a mild scent, it was strong, like she hadn't showered in days. I started trying to time intimacy around her showers, hoping she'd freshen up. I never brought it up because I didn't want to humiliate her. It wasn't about judgment. It was just becoming harder and harder to ignore. Then about a month ago, things came to a head. Ella had a terrible period. Cramps, fatigue, she could barely function. I told her to come stay with me for a few days so I could take care of her. I didn't mind cooking, cleaning, helping her rest. I just assumed she'd bring basic hygiene products and take care of herself while she recovered. She didn't. No pads, no supplies. Around 3 a.m., she leaked through onto my sheets. I didn't get mad. Accidents happen. I quietly got up, cleaned everything, and even ran out to a 24-hour pharmacy to get what she needed. But the next day, I came home from work and found the used pad from the night before still on my bathroom floor, not wrapped, just lying there. It honestly turned my stomach. I'm not squeamish, but that was hard to look past. I brought it up, calmly. I told her that periods aren't gross, but leaving something like that out in someone else's bathroom is not okay. She didn't take it well. Accused me of shaming her, of calling her disgusting. I didn't. Said I made her feel bad about her body. I tried again to explain. It wasn't about her body. It was about basic respect for someone else's space. It was tense, but we moved on. Later, some people, friends and folks online, helped me see this might be more than hygiene. It could be a mental health issue, and that clicked for me. We talked, and she agreed to start therapy. I was proud of her. I noticed a real change. She showered more, cleaned her place up, seemed more present. Things were good. I thought we were growing together. Then 2 days ago, it all unraveled. She had an emotional meltdown, out of nowhere. She was shaking, angry, accusing me of trying to change her. Said I manipulated her into therapy, that I was ashamed of who she really was, that I didn't love her as is. I just wanted her cleaned up. Then came the ultimatum. Accept her completely, no expectations, or leave. I told her I did accept her. I accepted the struggles, the trauma, the hard days. What I couldn't accept was being punished for supporting her. I didn't force her to do anything. I don't respond to ultimatums. She packed her things, told me to go for myself, and walked out. I sat there for hours. Sheets freshly washed, silence echoing in the room. Feeling like maybe I failed her, but also knowing deep down that I didn't. I loved her. I tried, but you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. And you definitely can't love someone into healing if they end up resenting you for it. Now I'm here, alone, wondering, was I the a-hole for walking away? No, you're not the a-hole. You were compassionate, patient, and supportive far beyond what most people would tolerate. You didn't judge her for her hygiene issues. You tried to understand them, even considered the mental health aspect, and encouraged her to get help in a respectful way. That's not controlling. That's caring. What makes the situation especially complex is that it wasn't just about hygiene. It became about trust, communication, and emotional safety on both sides. You were clear about your boundaries and needs, and she ultimately responded by lashing out and giving you an ultimatum. That's not a healthy way to handle conflict in a relationship. You didn't shame her. You simply asked for basic respect in your home. Everyone has flaws, but when one person refuses to take responsibility or misinterprets support as control, it makes continuing the relationship incredibly difficult, no matter how deep the love is. So, no, you're not the villain here. You're just someone who tried really hard and eventually had to protect your own well-being. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you human, but I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. My boyfriend, 29, male, and I, 25, female, had an argument and he hasn't spoken to me in almost a week. I don't know what to do. Hi, everyone. I'm really struggling and could use some perspective. My boyfriend and I have been together for about 1.5 years. I love him deeply, and I've always tried my best to support and make him happy. Our families have met and get along well, and we've even talked about a future together. Recently, though, things have gotten difficult. I've been dealing with some personal stress, mostly unrelated to our relationship. My family situation has been emotionally draining, and there's also the pressure around marriage. I don't mind waiting to get married. We can't until his sister does. But people around me have made hurtful comments that have really gotten to me. For instance, a cousin recently said, "You should get married soon before you expire." And when I reminded her that her mom married at 29, she said, "Yeah, but my mom's pretty." Things like that have left me feeling vulnerable and insecure. Because I was in a bad place emotionally, I made the mistake of projecting some of that frustration onto my boyfriend. The first disagreement started when I said I didn't like how he often jokes about me buying him things. Recently, he'd been saying things like, "You should buy me those shoes so we can match," or, "You never order food or make food for me." I do buy gifts for him on special occasions, and sometimes just because. And I've ordered food for him before. I just felt like the constant comments made me feel unappreciated. I tried to explain this and even joked, "You need to get out of your feminine energy," which he didn't take well. For context, he's made similar jokes before, like saying I'm being masculine. So I didn't think this would be a big deal, but he was hurt, and I apologized right away. The next day, we argued again. He had hung out with coworkers, and I asked if any women were there. He said yes. That upset me. Not because I don't trust him, but because his coworkers don't know he's in a relationship. He never talks about me at work, and that's something that's always made me feel uneasy. I realize now that my reaction was driven by insecurity, and I told him I trusted him. I just didn't trust others. He ended the call, and I immediately apologized for overreacting. I also told him I've been pushing him away because I've been feeling so low emotionally, especially with all the marriage pressure. But that was apparently the last straw for him. He told me that the past few days had been emotionally draining, that I'd been starting arguments, then apologizing, and repeating the cycle. He said it felt unstable and emotionally erratic. He felt like I was comparing him to others, though I didn't intend to, and told me he would talk to me when he was ready. Then he said goodbye. I replied saying I didn't want to end things like that and tried to explain that it had just been a rough few days, but he didn't respond. That was almost a week ago. On Sunday, I gave him space and didn't call or message. On Monday, I reached out to apologize again, expressing how much he means to me. No reply. On Tuesday, I told him I missed him and that he's important to me. He replied with okay, but added that what I did was a sign of instability. Our nearly 500-day Snapchat streak ended. I paid to restore it. I had been snapping him, but he wasn't opening them. On Wednesday, I tried again. I sent him breakfast through Uber Eats, but the driver couldn't find his location. He got annoyed because he went down and the driver was already gone. Later, I sent him dinner, and he snapped me a photo of it. He asked why I sent it. I said, "Because I love you and want to take care of you." He just repeated that I had shown instability. I apologized again and tried to validate his feelings. I told him I never meant to hurt him, that I was just overwhelmed, and that I know I need to manage my emotions better. I reminded him that everyone has bad days, and that in the past, when he said something hurtful, I've always forgiven him quickly. Not because I don't feel things, but because I love him. I tried to explain that these arguments weren't our norm. We're generally very stable and happy together, and that this was just a bad patch. By Thursday, I was still trying to make amends. I asked, "Do you want to work things out?" He replied, "Not if you're going to be bipolar and have erratic behaviors and expect me to deal with it. You know, I have a lot on my plate, and you don't seem to understand that." That really hurt, but I told him I understood, and I'd work on being more emotionally steady. I reminded him that this behavior wasn't normal for me. It was out of character, and that I want to fix things because he's important to me. I even told him I needed to focus on studying, trying to show him I'm working on myself. He said, "Okay, so do that then, LOL." I asked if that meant we were okay, and he left me on red. Friday was Eid. I sent him a sweet Eid Mubarak message and asked if he was home or back in Michigan so I could send food. He said, "Eid Mubarak," and told me not to send anything. I then asked him to snap me to save our streak. But again, no response. I'm heartbroken. I didn't think things would spiral this far. It's Eid, and instead of celebrating, I feel crushed. I know I messed up, but I've apologized and tried to make things right. I don't know what else to do at this point. I feel like I'm being punished for being vulnerable and human. Any advice or insight would mean a lot. You've apologized enough. Continuing to reach out won't help and may push him further away. His behavior isn't okay. Calling you bipolar and giving you the silent treatment is emotionally unhealthy and dismissive. There's a power imbalance. You're doing all the emotional work, while he shuts down and avoids responsibility. Pull back and stop sending messages or food. Let him show if he actually wants to fix things. You deserve mutual love. Real love includes support, respect, and shared emotional effort. Bottom line, you're not the problem. But this dynamic is. Take your power back and give yourself space to heal. What do you think OP should do? Is OP being overly emotional, or is the boyfriend being unfair by shutting them out like this? Has anyone been in a situation where a few arguments spiraled into silence and distance? Drop your thoughts, advice, or personal stories in the comments. OP could really use some perspective.